Spoons. Can you dig it? Alright, I've been recently working on making some spoons, so I thought I might do a video of that. This right here is the first spoon I ever built. I carved this from a piece of poplar probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. It's been quite a while, and I have recently gotten into doing some more spoons. I made a large wooden spoon that turned out really well, and then I've got some plans for like a coffee scoop that I've been really trying to work on, and that coffee scoop has just been an absolute nightmare, mostly because I'm still learning. I don't know what I'm doing really with spoon carving, so thought I'd make a video, show you what some of the spoons I've been working on look like, and just go over some of the process of carving spoons. Alright, so here is the template for that coffee spoon. This is the very first one I tried to make. The idea here was to have the very rounded bowl and then kind of a short stem to make just a coffee scoop for putting coffee in a coffee pot. But as you can see with the first one, as I was trying to cut out the shape, it cracked. So I built a second one, which cracked. So I built a third one, and the third one split it in half, tore to pieces, and also cracked. But the fourth one also cracked because I suck at making spoons. So much of the woodworking process for me, particularly with these spoons, is just making mistakes and learning from those, trying to improve on my skills, learning what tools have certain limitations, and what I can do with the tools I have on hand. So it's a learning process, just like everything in life. You make mistakes and you try to improve yourself and become better from those mistakes. So I'm trying again. This will be coffee spoon number 5 that I'm going to try to make, and hopefully I can get this figured out. I bought some new tools. I'll show you those and we'll see what we can do with them. Alright, so here is the piece I'm going to be using for the coffee spoon number 5. I'm going to get that drawn out and see if I can't start working on it. But first I have this large wooden spoon that I'm working on. I had to kind of rig up a vise because I don't have one, which I just did with some clamps and an old board, which I think should work pretty well. But I've already made one of these and it turned out pretty awesome. So I'm hoping I get the same result with this one, but I'll show you those new tools I've got and start carving out the bowl on this spoon. Alright, so I got this new 11-piece gouge and chisel set. I had some chisels I was working with before, but they weren't woodworking chisels and they really were not what I should have been using. But these are steel with a nice hardwood base on them. They're very good. I got them for a pretty good price, so I'm going to be using these on that bowl, probably starting with this one that has... if that'll focus, maybe, has this curved blade on it, so I'll be using that to start. But so far, really happy with these tools. So this is going to be a mixing spoon, and it doesn't need to have an incredibly deep bowl. That's why I kind of cut it to the thickness that I did. But when I start a spoon, I always like to kind of just draw out the bowl, line out the edges so I know kind of where to stop when I start carving. So that's what I'm going to do here, just a rough shape. It's not perfect. Try to bring it back to the center as best I can. Kind of move around as I need to. I want to make sure I leave enough on that end so that I don't worry about it cracking. And try to get these somewhat even. I think that's pretty close, so I will start with that. I typically start with one of these round gouges or curved gouges. There is a particular one. This one that blade has a little bit of a curve on it, and that helps me get the angle I need to. So I'm going to start with this. We'll see how well my little vise here holds this spoon in. So I've started a little bit already roughing out the bowl. Most of the time when you start your roughing out, you can go crossways with the grain, and it'll be a little easier, especially on dry wood like this. But when I cut this out, there was a piece that tore out of the bowl. So I'm actually going with the grain till I can get down to that depth, and then I'll start working across with it. Alright, so I've gotten that depth down where I want it, and I've started going across the grain here on the bowl. And a lot of times when you go cross grain, it removes material a lot easier, but you can also get a lot of tear out really badly. So since I'm still roughing out the shape, I don't really care about that too much. So I'm going to keep doing this till I get a lot closer to the overall depth and everything, and then I'll switch to going with the grain and get those fine-tuned details down. Alright guys, so I've roughed out the bowl pretty much to the shape that I like, and also you can see here I'm starting to get a lot more tear out than what I want, and that is when you're using your gouge and you're coming across the grain, the wood, instead of peeling out, it kind of just starts to rip out, and you get some deep gouges, and just starting to get into that where it's a little too much and I won't be able to clean it up. So I'm going to start going with the grain now and see how that goes. Alright, so I've cleaned the handle up pretty nicely. I've got some work to do on this middle section, and then finish the back of the bowl and do some sanding on the middle of the bowl here. So I think I'm going to use my Dremel for that. So I'm going to give that a try and see how that goes. I ran my mouth way too much in this video and did not realize it was 10 minutes long until I put it all together. So I'm doing a little bit of sanding on this spoon. It's pretty well finished, but I think this is going to end up being a two-part video since I just had so much footage from the first spoon. I'm still working on the coffee spoon. The second part will be mostly the coffee spoon, and then the last little bit of work I did on this spoon. So stay tuned for that.